who is the toughest matchup for every single champion in the UFC right now. This isn't who should fight for the belt next or anything like that. It doesn't even have to make sense. This is just who is the toughest matchup for every single champion. Starting off with heavyweight, the heavyweight champion is John Jones, and for me, the hardest matchup is Sergey Pavlovich. I mean, if you saw the Stipe versus Jones announcement, you'd see that everyone wanted Pavlovich to be the announcement. First of all, he's very, very powerful. If he clips Jones, that could be scary. He's on like a six in a row first round knockout streak right now, which is crazy. He's insanely accurate. He's accurate when he's in when he's swinging, he's not really accurate. Like if you watch the Taito Ivaza fight, he was missing quite a lot in the finish, but he is a very, very accurate puncher. He's quick as well, which is why he's so effective with his strikes. He's got good takedown defense. He hasn't really been taken down and out-grappled in his UFC career besides the time he fought Alistair Overeem, which is also his only loss on his record. I think he's going to be tough against Jones. He's never lost. Well, he's lost once. I don't think Jones is going to be able to ragdoll wrestle him like he did with Cyril Gane. He's way more dangerous than Cyril Gane as well. I did pick Cyril Gane to win, but that is irrelevant. But Sergey Pavlovich is scary. He's tougher than... Not tough. He's more dangerous than Cyril Gane, and I think he would be the biggest threat to John Jones. I still think Jones would find a way to win, but this would be a really tough, heavy... This is a really, really tough retirement fight, way tougher than Stipe. I was going to put Tom Aspinall, but we just haven't seen much of Tom Aspinall yet. We've seen him maul Volkov, Orlovsky and Spivak, and that's about it. So I've got to go with Sergey Pavlovich for heavyweight. Light heavyweight, the toughest test is Yuri Prohaska. I was going to put, what's his name? I was going to put Magomed Ankalaev, but then I thought, well, if Prohaska can, if Jamal Hill... if he can manage to beat Glover Teixeira, who in my opinion is a better grappler than Ankalaev, then I'm sure he'd be able to beat Ankalaev as well. Although I will say Teixeira is probably more willing to strike, but Ankalaev's got striking power. But I'm going to go with Prohaska. He's a very awkward striker. He's not just the standard striker. Very awkward. A lot of spinning moves. A lot of, Viking moves. Very tough. He's durable as well. If you saw the fight with Glover, he's only had a short amount of UFC fights, but the fight with Reyes and Glover shows that he's got heart and he's very tough and durable. He can grapple. He literally submitted Glover Teixeira. I know that was a really low IQ move, but he submitted one of the grappling experts of the UFC, and I think he can match with Jamal Hill striking in the sense that it's not going to be Jamal Hill just getting another first round knockout. I really do think Prohaska's going to beat Jamal Hill when they fight. There's going to be an announcement soon. I was going to put Jan Blachowicz, but he lost to Glover Teixeira, whereas Jamal Hill didn't. He also barely beat Ankalaev. If anything, he lost, or it was just a draw. But it would probably be Ankalaev 2, Blachowicz 3. But I'm going to go with Yuri Prohaska. Get him in the octagon. I think he'll beat Jamal Hill. It will not be an easy fight. People are saying he's going to absolutely smoke Hill. He won't. It won't be an easy fight. But light heavyweight, I'm going Yuri Prohaska. Middleweight, I forgot about this guy because he hasn't fought in so long, but I'm going to go with Khamzat Chimaev. He won't fight for a belt next because he hasn't fought since September 2022 against Kevin Holland. Previous to that, it was like April or March 2022 against Gilbert Burns. So he hasn't even fought at middleweight yet, but he would definitely be Adesanya's toughest test. At middleweight, he would be a lot bigger as well. So he'd have a size advantage that he had. Well, not a size advantage, but he'd be bigger than he was at welterweight. He is the best middleweight wrestler that Adesanya will ever face, besides potentially someone like Bo Nickel. The toughest wrestling offense Adesanya has faced is Brunson and Vettori. That's it. Khamzat's shown that he has somewhat a chin. He hasn't got like a really tough chin. He was getting cracked by Gilbert Burns, but he kept coming forward. I do think if Adesanya was to hit him with one of those shots that he hit Pereira with, I think Chimaev... he'd get dropped at least, but he's very tough, is what I'm saying. Easy is skinny, easier to grab and ragdoll. This might look stupid, but look at Sterling, for example. Sterling's a grappler, and he can always out-grapple the tall, lanky guys like Sean O'Malley, or when he did it to Sandhagen, because they're so much easier to out-grapple. Same way that Khamzat dominated, what's his name? Kevin Holland pretty easily, but couldn't do that to Gilbert Burns. I know they're different grappling styles, but I think if Khamzat gets a hold of Adesanya, the body frame of Adesanya isn't going to be able to really do anything against Khamzat. I think Khamzat's just going to take him down immediately and grapple him immediately. He's got high submission offense. He's a very good offensive submission artist. That's if he chooses to grapple. If he does another really low IQ play, because he's got somewhat power. We saw it against Burns and Gerald Meerschaert. If he stands on the feet with Adesanya, that's a stupid idea. If he goes for the grappling and tries, getting a submission like he did with Holland, that's a smart idea. And I think he'd be the toughest test. I mean, who else? Dricus du Plessis. I think Khamzat's tougher test for Israel Adesanya than du Plessis is. He's already beaten Cannonier. Who else is there? I really don't. I think Khamzat definitely is the toughest test. I think I'd probably pick Adesanya to win this fight, but out of all the middleweight contenders, I'm going with Khamzat to be the hardest fight for Adesanya. Welterweight. I know you didn't want me to say this. I'm going with Belal the Boy Muhammad. I have to go with him. I just can't see Colby Covington beating Leon Edwards. I just don't see it happening. Shavkat Rakhmonov. I mean, I don't think I think Shavkat's got really. I know I don't want to say this because he's so good. He's got one of the best records already, but he's got very dodgy striking. I think Belal Muhammad's got improved stand-up. He improves his stand-up every fight. He literally outstruck and out-grappled Gilbert Burns as well as Sean Brady. He's got good cardio, not absolutely outstanding cardio, but he's got cardio. He's had experience with Leon in the octagon before, but then also Leon's had experience with him, so it works both ways. I feel like it will be a very Merab versus Aldo type game plan. As he's just going to try and pin him down. It'll be a very boring fight. I mean, Leon Edwards isn't exactly... He's not a boring fighter, but he's not an exciting fighter. Neither is Belal Muhammad. He's literally known for being boring. People call him Remember the Decision. So I think Belal Muhammad would just lay and pray on him for 5 rounds until he gets a decision win, and then he'd start crying when he gets the belt wrapped around his waist. I can see Belal beating Edwards, man. There's something about Belal. I can just see him beating Edwards in a really boring fight. I don't want to say Belal, but I just think I think the striking... I can't see Edwards dominating him on the feet. I think Belal Muhammad genuinely is a better striker than Khamzat Chimaev. Not Khamzat, Kamaru Usman. I think Kamaru Usman's more of a dangerous grappler, with his power and his EPO. But Belal Muhammad's, I'd say, a more technical striker, and he's improving every fight. I mean, from the Luque fight to the Brady fight, he improved a lot, and then from the Brady fight to the Burns fight, he'd improve a lot. And I'm sure from the Burns fight to the Edwards fight, he's going to improve a lot. I just think stylistically, it's a very, very hard matchup for Edwards, and I can actually see him beating Edwards more than any of the other contenders. Number 2 would definitely be Shavkat, but I'm going to put Belal there. Hopefully, if I put Belal now, that's not going to happen, so everyone can come back and say, yeah, I was wrong, but who knows. Then we're going to go lightweight. Lightweight, I'm going to go with Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler, stylistically, is very tough for Islam Makhachev. He'd never get to Makhachev just because of the contenders. He's not beating Gaethje, he's not beating Poirier, he's not beating Oliveira, but stylistically for Islam Makhachev, he's a very, very tough fight. He's got knockout power. Islam's chin, he's been caught a lot. I mean, he got knocked out. That's the only loss in his career. He got knocked out cold. He got caught quite a lot and dropped against Volkanovski. If Michael Chandler lands one of his bombs, 100% that's going to rock Makhachev and drop him. Very explosive, very kind of in and out style, a lot of knockout power. He's a very fast starter as well, he's Michael Chandler. I feel like Islam, he's also kind of a fast starter, but I mean, it might overwhelm Islam because Michael Chandler is a fast starter. He's only in the 2nd and the 3rd and the 4th round. I mean, Michael Chandler's never been to a 4th round in the UFC, but it's only in the 3rd, 2nd round when he starts to slow down and get a little bit stupid and low fight IQ. And he's also a great wrestler. Islam can't just, take him down and dominate him on the floor because he's a great wrestler. And like I said earlier about taller fighters being able to ragdoll, Michael Chandler's the opposite of that. He's short, strong and stocky, and he's got good wrestling background. He's not going to be easy to just take down. If Michael Chandler can keep it somewhat standing, imagine Michael Chandler just grabs hold of Islam Makhachev and slams him on the floor, and then he gets to the feet and he drops him and knocks him out cold. I think stylistically, out of every contender in the lightweight division, Michael Chandler's the toughest. Islam beats Poirier, he beats Gaethje, he beats Dariush, he beats Oliveira again. I don't know if he'd beat Chandler though. Stylistically, Chandler's a really, really tough matchup, so lightweight, I'm going Chandler. Featherweight, I'm going Ilia Topuria. I mean, there's no real one else really. Arnold Allen, I just can't see him beating Volk if he can't beat Holloway. Ilia Topuria, I think stylistically would be tougher for Volk than Yair is. First of all, he's a good wrestler. Volkanovski's shown that he's got great wrestling and he used it against Yair Rodriguez, and I don't think he'd just be able to ragdoll Ilia Topuria like he ragdolled Yair Rodriguez. We've seen from the Josh Emmett fight, we've seen from the Bryce Mitchell fight, we've seen from the Jai Herbert fight. Ilia Topuria's got good wrestling. He's not like a wrestler, I wouldn't call him a wrestler, but he's got a good wrestling base. He's got knockout power. He's dropped Josh Emmett and nearly finished him so many times. He dropped and finished, he dropped and finished Bryce Mitchell. He knocked Jai Herbert out cold. I'm scared that this is going to be a Leon Edwards Kamaru Usman moment where Volk's doing well and then Ilia Topuria just smacks him in the jaw and gets a knockout win. He's also very fast. I mean, a lot of featherweights tend to be fast, but he's very quick. He's durable as well. He's shown that he can go 5 rounds. He's good inside the pocket as well. So if it ever gets to a clinch situation, I can see him being good with the uppercuts and the hooks. And he's undefeated. He's never lost a fight in his life. Ilia Topuria, for me, is by far the toughest test for Volkanovski at featherweight. I think this should be the next fight. I think it should be booked for around November time this year. Ilia Topuria is the toughest test on the feet and on the grappling department for Volkanovski. I do think Volkanovski would win the fight because it's Volkanovski. You cannot bet against him, but I'm going with the toughest test for him is definitely Ilia Topuria. I mean, who else? Brian Ortega, one of the slowest strikers in history, BJJ threat. He's beaten Holloway 3 times. Volkanovski has. Just beat Yair Rodriguez pretty comfortably. He's beating Korean Zombie. There's no one else for him to fight. Arnold Allen, I don't think he'd do well against Volk. I see him getting finished. Ilia Topuria, I've got him at the toughest fight against Volk. Coming in at bantamweight, it's Merab, which is tough because they'll never fight each other because they're best friends. Merab has cardio for days. He could go 8 rounds, 10 rounds. That Yan fight showed that he's got some crazy cardio. He's not that bad of a striker. Sterling's not just going to be able to awkwardly strike with him because Merab's also an awkward striker. So it's not just going to be Sterling keeping it on the feet and outstriking him. He's a very dominant wrestler. Sterling hasn't really faced a dominant... I mean, he's faced Cejudo, who was a dominant wrestler, and he gave him his toughest fight yet, besides Yan. And Merab's going to be even tougher, in my opinion, an even tougher wrestler than Cejudo is. I think Merab... I don't know, man. I think Merab and Cejudo are pretty even on the wrestling, but I feel like his fight IQ is a lot better than Cejudo's. He's a takedown master. What was it? Did he not set a record for the most takedown defense against Yan? I think he'd go for the takedown a lot more against Sterling as well than what Cejudo would. And he did better against Yan than Sterling did both times combined. The first Sterling fight, he got battered against Yan. Second one, just about pulled a win. Merab 10-8'd Yan in pretty much every round. Well, maybe that's a stretch, but what I'm saying is Merab is the toughest test for Aljamain Sterling at featherweight. He's already beaten bantamweight, already beaten Cejudo, already beaten Sandhagen, already beaten Yan twice, already beaten TJ Dillashaw. I don't know why I'm bringing him up, but he wouldn't beat Merab. I think Merab beats Sterling. I really do. And then we move on to flyweight. I think it's pretty obvious at this point. These guys are just built for each other. For some reason, Brandon Moreno is always having quadrilogies. I don't know if it's the division as a whole or just him. Always quadrilogies. Brandon Moreno can never fight someone and beat them twice in a row. It's annoying. But they had a very, very close trilogy. Everyone was saying Moreno won. Personally, I think Pantoja won that fight. He's fought Pantoja 3 times now. Again, got the experience of him, but again, Pantoja now has the experience of him too. He's also a great boxer. I think if these guys fight 10 times, Pantoja wins 6 times out of 10. But Moreno would beat him at least some point. Who else is tough for Pantoja? I mean, Amir Albazi? I don't think so. Kai Kara France? I don't think he can get. I think he get finished by Pantoja. Brandon Royval doesn't deserve a title shot, and even if he did, he would not beat Pantoja. I think Pantoja would beat Moreno, don't get me wrong. I think if these guys fought again, Pantoja would win. But actually, I don't know. I think Moreno might actually win. I think Moreno beats him, Now that I think of it, I think Moreno beats him. Yeah, Moreno's whenever he's the champion, he's trash. Well, not trash. Whenever he's the champion, he's at 9 out of 10. But whenever he's what's it called? Where he's fighting for the belt, he's a 10 out of 10 fighter. But yeah, that's my list. If you agree or disagree, please let me know. But that's my personal list of who the best threat is to every champion.